Okay. Now, when did that occur? When was that suggestion made to go to the Coconut Grove Hotel?
About 10 days before the original date of the, around the 9th of September, I think it was.
And what
because it was about 10 days before they wanted me to plead guilty.
Who wanted you to plead guilty?
Well, when they called me up with that situation with the invisible word. You know, Dr. Geertz explained that to you.
Well, what was that all about?
Well, I didn't, it was...
Tell us what happened.
Yeah, what do you remember?
Well, what I remember about it is that there was a time lapse. And it was through hypnosis with Dr. Geertz that I was able to recall what happened. The fact that they told me that I was to plead guilty and that the invisible word was not. That I wasn't supposed to say the invisible word. That I was supposed to plead guilty, and I was to say guilty, Your Honor, when the judge asked me how do I plead to the counts in the indictment.
Now, who asked you to do this? Or who told you to do this?
I got a call from Denise Muntz from Flag. Her last name is not Muntz anymore. She got married recently, like 6 months ago.
And this was around the time of when?
Just before the indictment.
What did she say?
She induced she induced reverie somehow. I forget the exact wording on it, but she wanted me to plead guilty. She said that, well, she said, no, you're going to plead guilty because not is the invisible word. The invisible word.
And the invisible word meant that you couldn't say it?
Right.
And how much of this did you remember before you had the session with Dr. Geertz?
Nothing. But I remembered it after.
Well, how did you know to look for it in the session with him?
He asked about contacts under hypnosis.
He's asked you consistently since then about the contacts?
About contacts. And there was like a time that I was supposed to, that I was out there walking in the ocean at night at 1 in the morning. And I don't remember that, but my bathing suit was wet because it was wet. I was supposed to walk to St. Hill.
This was based on a call you received from them?
At around 12:37 in the evening.
How do you know 12:37?
Well, through our session with Dr. Geertz, the time I had looked at the clock before the phone rang. It was after Dusty called, and the phone rang, and it was 12:37.
What about, you mentioned something to me at one point about an unusual blowout on one of the tires on your car?
It was on the left rear tire. I was driving home. I was driving home from Dusty's house, and it was late at night, around 1 in the morning, and I didn't think anything of it because the tire blew out. I never had a blowout before, but the policeman who stopped on me on 95 when I was in trouble, he gave me a ride to the phone. He said to me, this is the most unusual blowout I've ever seen because you have a lock on your wheels, and the lock was blown off as well as the wheel cover. And that's not how a blowout works. And I said, what do I know? I never had one before. The following day, I got a call, and I don't know who it is for sure, but it sounded like Charlie Fox, because he didn't identify himself. He says, next time it's going to be all 4 tires.
Charlie Fox called you?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, next time it's going to be all 4 tires.
Have you gotten any other calls since then from anybody else in Scientology concerning taking your own life?
Almost every day.
Who has called you?
Well, I've gotten calls consistently from Leona and from Linda Miller.
What did Leona say?
Well, Leona said that the last thing that happened, the last contact with her, is that the grace period ended, and now it's going to be a situation where the EOC may not be exactly as pleasant. In other words, it won't be a causative EOC. It would basically be uncausative on my part because I failed to participate in the handling. And I can't bring myself to do it. You know.
Good.
I've tried. I've really tried.
What do you mean you've tried?
One day I said to myself, I'm going to go down there and do it. I'm going to pick it up, and I started to go down there, and I just couldn't go through with it. I didn't go to the org. I was on my way to the org, but I couldn't do it because I said, I'm not sure. There's something. Besides, this is the reason why I'm not going to do it, because I have to get this message across. And I said, what am I accomplishing by doing an EOC when the data that I wrote in here, in the Holy Book of Life, is going to accomplish what I was supposed to do? Ron would never have me abandon my post as a Thetan, not only as a Scientologist, because I realized I did an eval on this whole situation, and this is how these are the conclusions that I now have. There are two choices, because I'm wearing two hats. There's a hat of a Scientologist, and they are forcing me to abandon that hat. But a hat of a Thetan, I can't abandon. Do you see the difference? Mm-hmm. And Ron would not, he could probably understand why I didn't follow policy regarding doing an EOC. Because in not following policy and getting this book out, it's still the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, and I'm still wearing my hat as a Thetan. And I'm sure in time, even though time is the source of all aberration, in time I will be proved out as having been right. I'm convinced that by not doing the EOC and by having this book published and by enabling the half of the world who are under the brainwashing of Christianity, which is a cult, they will be free and be able to be set free, and those are the people that Scientology will be able to at least clear because of me.